Do you have a 3D printer but you don't know how to make stuff in 3D? I'm gonna try to teach you in a couple of videos using a couple of different softwares. So first up is TinkerCAD. Now I'm going to make the same part in a couple of different CAD softwares, I guess, and it's this little angle, and the reason is that I think this has enough that if you know how to make this, you should be able to make simple things for your own self. This is a nice little bracket to hold something, and I've made a couple of them. So today is TinkerCAD, and TinkerCAD is a fairly rudimental software. It's all run in your browser, so you can use it on any PC or laptop, Mac, Linux, some tablets as well. And it's fairly simple to learn. It's mainly made for children, but it's a really powerful software that can really take your printer to help you more in your day-to-day life. Now, I've made a couple of things in TinkerCAD. Before I even started doing things for 3D printing, I made my own stuff in TinkerCAD. I also made this in a previous video, and this is a plunger tool for heat set inserts. This was all made in TinkerCAD, and TinkerCAD is surprisingly powerful. Now, TinkerCAD is also very limited. If you want to make decorative things, you want to make smooth lines, and you want sculptures that looks really nice and smooth, TinkerCAD is not for you. If you just need boxy things that just work, TinkerCAD is for you. So let's head over to the desktop and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so I'm at my desktop and I thought I would just go through all the steps. So first thing is I needed an item. So I made a sketch. Like that. And that would give me the base of what my model is going to look like in the end. So I have some measurements and just a rough sketch of my item. Now in this case, I've already done this. I have the printed part here, and I also have it in the CAD software. So I'll switch to the CAD software. This is TinkerCAD. It's the most basic 3D modeling software there is. And here is my finished product. So I'm going to go through how I did this, and I'm going to go through it pretty detailed and show you what I do. And remember, this is how I use TinkerCAD. There's a lot of different ways. There are some more advanced tools, but this is the simplest way to use TinkerCAD, in my opinion. So I'm going to put that aside, and we're going to build a new one. So like I just said, I have a sketch, and I took a picture of it so I can put it on screen and show you. Now I have my measurements, which is 40 by 40, and I want this wall right here to be 5. So this is a 2D sketch, meaning I have drawn out 2 dimensions. But this is enough to give me all the measurements that I need, the width, the height, the length, etc. Now, let's start by making this wall the main part of this bracket. And it's going to be 5 by 40. And they're going to share this edge right here. So let's put that aside. Let's drag in a block. And I'm just going to press one of these corners. And I'm going to do 5. And then on this one, I'm going to do 40. And the last measurement that we need is the total height, which is 20 millimeters. And this is already 20 millimeters. When you import it, it's always 20 by 20 by 20. So this is one side. of this guy. So that's one side. So let's make another one, and you could drag in another block and resize it to fit your needs. However, I have just what I need, so I'm just going to duplicate it. And there's a button on the top left of the screen that says duplicate and repeat. So I'm just going to duplicate and repeat. And it puts it exactly where the previous one was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this. So whenever you have an item selected, there is this little rotate symbol on each axis. So I'll rotate that 90 degrees, and just note that if you go on the outside of this circle, there's a lot of controls, and the different circles give you different resolutions. So I'll set these to 90. All right, so I have two of the sides, but they're not where they're supposed to be. And you could, yes, just start moving things and try to line them up. But we don't need to do that. So let's just drag, select all of them. And let's go up to the top right and hit this align symbol. And I want to have these two corners meet. So I'll press this button right here and this button right here. And now they're connected, or they're aligned where they're supposed to be. If I wanted these to align in a different way, I can use the same tool just by pressing different points. Okay, so let's make this into one part, because now it's two parts. So I'll make it into one part by selecting both and then go up here to group. And that makes it into one part. Now, next item is the flat part. So it's this triangle bit. This is there to reinforce the joint. This angle bracket by itself in plastic, not so strong. So let's just grab a triangle, and you can probably see it's the wrong way. So I'll rotate it 90 degrees that way, and then 90 degrees that way. And we already know the size of this. So what I'm going to do is I'll get this lined up, and I'll just drag it out, because this is 35 by 35. And there we go. They have been aligned. So I can now select all of these, go back to group, and we have a angle. And now comes the part where it's not straightforward. We're going to make the holes for the bolts. And one of the limitations of TinkerCAD is that you cannot chamfer your models. You'll have to model the chamfer into whatever you're doing. And as you can see, I've made chamfers because the screws that I'm using have chamfered profiles. So I've done this for years and years, and it's always been working for me. What I'm going to do is I'll start by grabbing a cylinder and make it the size of the hole. So I'm not too concerned about the length of this. I'm only concerned about the thickness. In this case, it's 4 millimeters. So I'll make a 4x4 cylinder. And then I'll grab another cylinder and I'll make that bigger. And usually in this case, I'll do 8. So I'll do double the size of my hole. That's just what I've been doing. It's been working. This is not based on anything, so it's just my experience. So I'll make that 8 by 8. And then I'll use this line tool again
to align these two into each other. And then I'll pull the larger one up so that it's 20 by, or it's 20 millimeter higher, creating this odd shape, I guess. I'll group that. Now I could use this and get inset holes. So if you're using machine screws that have flat profiles, you could grab this and then you can put it into your part. And if I now select all and then group, because this is a negative part, it's going to make a hole in the positive part, and we get this nice looking hole. So if you're doing machine screws, this is what you would do. And I'm going to ungroup this again, and I'll pull this aside so that I can do some more stuff to it. Now what I'll do is I'll set it back up to 90. I just prefer to work in this orientation. I'm not sure why, it's just my preference. And what I want to do is I want to chamfer this. Now you could start measuring angles. I'm not too worried about that, so I'll just make this 8. I've just pulled out a cone, so I'll make that 8 by 8. And then usually I'll do half of the height that I need. So in this case, the height is 4, and I'll do 2. And that looks a little low, so I'll do 3. Okay. And because this is now a positive, I cannot put this in here and then duplicate, because that will just make a hole in the positive one. So I'll grab this and I'll go into this. You can select colors for different parts, but you can also just convert any solid into a hole. And now I have my hole, so I'll flip it upside down, and then I'll align it again. And I want this to be in the middle, and luckily there's a tool for that. And usually this is what happens. It just gets caught slightly because it's in the middle. So I'll just pull this big part up, and you can see there's a gap. And if I try to go down, it goes too far. And we can fix that quite easily by going down to the right. There is a snap grid, and if I set that to 0.5 instead of 1, I can move this in half millimeter increments. Now select all of that and group it, and I have a nice little cylinder. So next would be to put this onto my model. So I'll rotate it, and then I'll just select all and use the align tool once again. And I'll put it in the middle. And right now I'm just roughly putting everything together. So I have the hole in the middle, and for a part like this, I'm not too worried about the placement of these holes. As long as they're inside of the part, I'll be happy. TinkerCAD doesn't really have that super precision without counting individual moves. So what I'll do is I'll pull it into roughly where I want it. And in this case, I want 2 of them. So I'll put one there. And then I'll push the duplicate and repeat. And what I'll do is I'll change my snap grid to 5. And I'll just press my keyboard. So I'll press the arrow button on my keyboard. And each time I press it, it moves the part 5 millimeters. And there you go. So I had to push it 4 times, so that's 20 millimeters between those 2 holes. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate one of these by using the duplicate function, or just press Ctrl plus D on your keyboard. And then I'll turn it 90 degrees. I'll put my snap grade back to 1. And then I'll move this to roughly where I want it. In this case, this doesn't really matter. If I wanted this to really be precise, I would use my keyboard to get it aligned, the center line right here, aligned to the edge. So I had to put it like that. And then I would simply count. So I know the hole is 4 millimeters, and the big part of the hole is 8 millimeters, and I want it at least 4 millimeters in, but I would want something more on the edge. So I'll put 5 and just press the keyboard, and it's 5 millimeters in. I can change that to 1 and go 1 more. Okay. Now I'll duplicate this. I'll put it back to 5. And there you go. All of the holes are on. And I'll just drag and select everything and then group. And I have my part. You could place it back down on the ground. Doesn't really matter that much, but there you have it. Both of my parts. They're almost identical. If you can spot the difference, let me know down in the comments. And all we need to do now is export. So I'll select the part, press export. In this case, an STL is more than enough. Make sure that it's on the selected shape. And it'll download into your browser's download folder, and you're ready to print.
And there you go. The little brackets came out great. They do what they need to do, and what more can you ask for? This is fairly simple to do, and I hope that with the little bit of information that I showed you in this little tutorial, you'll be able to make things for yourself or for friends around the house. Now, if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It does really help me, and I just passed 1,000 subscribers, so big thank you to all of you that subscribed. If you are not subscribed, just do that, but down below, I do really help. I do appreciate that, and someday I'll get better at this thing. Anyway, I'm gonna go to sleep now.